Hey guys, the Explorer 4 here, the Horror Boy. Welcome back to some more reviews, and today we're beginning to a little bit more of a different video. I don't do a lot of pro wrestling videos on this channel, mainly because this is a horror-based channel. I want to keep things around the horror topic. I don't want to really stray away from that too much, so I don't do a lot of different videos for that reason, because it's called the Horror Boy. You guys all come here to watch horror stuff, so I kind of try to keep it horror-based content. But this is a request, and also something that I've just been wanting to do for a while. I've been meaning to make this video for a minute, and just wanting to get on here and talk pro wrestling again. And when I got this request from two people, actually. My good friend Colton and my good friend John. They wanted me to talk about pro wrestling as a request. And I was like, you know what? This is the perfect opportunity to do this. It's a perfect time to do this. And I figured, why not? So, John and Colt, if you're watching out there, hope you guys will enjoy the video. I will be leaving a link to their channels in the description below. Both awesome friends, both awesome supporters. And I can't thank them enough for recommending this video. And when I said pro wrestling, I was trying to think about what I wanted to do. Did I want to review some pay-per-views from this year? Did I want to rank my favorite WrestleMania matches? Like, what do I want to do for this particular subject? And I just want to make this more of just a video where I sit down and kind of go through why I love pro wrestling, what makes me interested in pro wrestling, and, you know, kind of my history with it, the downfalls of where I stopped watching, and then kind of where I got back into it. And we'll go from there. Talk about my favorite styles of wrestling, my favorite wrestlers of all time, my favorite kind of matches to watch. So we'll get into all that stuff in here in this video. So this video might be a little bit longer, but, you know, just having fun, relaxing, kicking back. I ain't got no sweet tea or pop in this mug, so it's just there for show. But, you know, we'll just sit back and relax, talk about pro wrestling, talk about what I love, and why I love wrestling so much. And, you know, growing up, I watched WWE to a certain point. The last time I watched WWE full time was probably in like 2016, 2017. And there was a lot of reasons for that, not just WWE. It was stuff like just where the stories were going, and the style of wrestling that was going on, certain booking decisions by WWE, and just where the wrestling scene was at that time. And it kind of still is. Like, it's getting better, but like WWE at the time just wasn't really personally a big fan of where those stories were going. And I remember year after year just not getting back into it because I would watch something and I didn't like the outcome. I didn't like how the booking was being done. And it wasn't until really recently that I actually got back into it and started watching it again. And I really enjoy it. There are times where I'll do wrestling reviews with my friend Colton. We'll do live streams, talk about pay-per-views and stuff like that. And I've been getting back into it. It's been fun. It's been a blast. I've really enjoyed getting back into the product again, and it's definitely a lot better than what it used to be. I think it's become this trend to hate on WWE. I don't know why that is. It's just become this thing where, I hate to say it, but it's like they've become so big and successful that it's kind of just naturally driven people away. I know it sounds weird. There was an analogy one time that CM Punk compared John Cena to the New York Yankees, meaning that John Cena had become the dynasty. You know, he became this name brand, this big deal. And here CM Punk was this underdog who had to fight for survival. I think WWE has become that status where they've become so big and successful that basically anything they do is held on an impossible pedestal. And this is just the honest truth from me. It's held on this pedestal that sometimes I hear certain fans, not all fans. A lot of pro wrestling fans, they're cool, but there are a group of wrestling fans that, to me, I just don't agree with most of the points, because it's basically, I understand criticism. The idea of criticism is not a bad thing, but when it's just complaining about everything and looking for problems, that's a different thing. The difference between criticism and just picking apart a product just to do it for fun, just to do it because it's the cool thing to do. It's just seemed like it's become the cool thing to pick on WWE and to just criticize them so much, to the point to where it kind of makes me wonder if it's even criticism at this point. I'm not saying this for every single opinion, but it's just WWE anymore. They've been held on such a big pedestal that it's like it's not gonna meet the expectations of certain people. Like, if you're holding it that high, it's not gonna meet that anymore. It's not. It is what it is. You can either watch it and enjoy it or not and don't watch it. And that's why, the people that do watch it and don't watch it, I respect everybody's opinions, but yeah. I will say this, WWE has gotten better. They've improved, at least thus far, and it's been a lot of fun going back and rewatching WWE again. And I got into wrestling when I was real young, like most people did. Like, when I was real young, I grew up with the Ruthless Aggression era. I didn't grow up with the Attitude era or the New Generation era. I grew up with the Ruthless Aggression era, which is my personal favorite era today, and it's not because of bias. It's because logically, when you look at it, it really was, at least in my opinion, one of the best eras of wrestling, because you're getting a combination of awesome wrestling, some really good different styles, different people. You're getting that mash of good pro wrestling and excellent storylines, and to me, most eras didn't quite get that balanced. Like, we remember the Attitude Era for the storylines, but there's not really a whole lot of matches that came out of the Attitude Era where you can say that is a fantastic 5-star wrestling match. Like, we remember it for the storylines and Stone Cold and characters. Remember all these people that was in the Attitude Era. Except for the Golden Era, it was more for the characters, the story. New Generation was more for the wrestling, but as far as stories and there wasn't a whole lot of stories and characters I can remember from the New Generation. But Ruthless Aggression is my personal favorite era for wrestling because, like I said, it's a good balance of pro wrestling and stories. And I think that you have to have a good story for a good match to work. Like, a wrestling match to me, and this is all personal opinion, this is my personal opinion. It doesn't have to be anybody else's opinion. This is only my opinion. So that is what it is. No facts here, just opinion. And for me, though, a match doesn't have to be this 5-star, ultra perfect, wrestling match. It can be a good match, but to me, my personal thing is the story and the characters. What are these characters doing? What is the storyline about? And how invested can you get into the storyline? That, to me, is the most important part. And that's the thing, to me, is what always hooked me in. It's the stories behind these matches. And I remember being a kid just seeing the John Cena and Edge feud and the Batista and Triple H feud and Taker and Batista, Taker and Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle and John Cena having the little rivalry there. Kurt Angle and Eddie Guerrero and a lot of people, actually. Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio having their rivalry. Eddie Guerrero and Brock Lesnar, JBL. I remember all those rivalries, man. Those are so good stories. Like, they were just excellent stories to me. And the wrestling was also excellent. So, not only did you get awesome matches with most time good payoffs, but you got this great story behind it that made it the complete package for me. And I mean, everything from that era I love. Just the way the stage looks. Sorry, I feel like I got a booger in my nose for some reason. But, I know. Didn't need to know that. But, Yeah, I love the stage design from back then. Uh, just the way the show looked, the way that it was filmed, how SmackDown and Raw were having the brand war, and I love just how Raw and SmackDown were completely different shows. Like, yeah, it was pro wrestling still, but each show kind of had different things. Raw was more of the story-based show, and SmackDown had great stories, but it was where a lot of talent could showcase their wrestling skills. And I was always a SmackDown guy as a kid. When I got older, I became a Raw. Like when I got older and the brand split, the brand wars, I kind of was like, all right, I like Raw and I like SmackDown. That's the thing. Like back then, it was like, okay, which one do you like better? Do you like SmackDown or Raw better? Kane is on Raw, but SmackDown has Undertaker, but Raw also has John Cena. Well, on SmackDown, you got this guy. So it's like that was the fun thing about that back then. That I really enjoyed. But just that era is just amazing to me. My favorite WrestleMania came out of that era. It's just WrestleMania 20. Just to me, my favorite spectacle. There's a lot of spectacle matches in that card. And the way that it ends is just it's the perfect ending. It's the perfect WrestleMania ending to me. And with some of the best matches in WrestleMania history on that card. It just a really excellent WrestleMania from top to bottom. To me, is every single match 5-star, but no, but it doesn't like. The thing is, it doesn't all have to be 5-star. It'd be boring if it was. So I'm glad that there are, shorter and longer matches that are more about the powerhouse, more about the wrestling, or more about the brawling. Different matches here and there that I like to see. To kind of shake up a card, make it look different, make it unique from each other. But I kind of got out of wrestling around... The first time I kind of got out of wrestling was around 2009, 2010. And then I came back in like 2015. And it was way different in 2015. I had taken 5 years away from wrestling. And I got back into it again because my friend was talking about it in school, and he was like, hey, Seth Rollins was on Raw last night, and Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. I'm like, who are these people? I didn't know who they were. And I started watching, and I really got into it again. The storylines between the Authority and Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns at the time was a big underdog because nobody liked him, and they were booing him out of the arena. And at that time, I felt bad for Roman because he didn't really do anything wrong. Like, he wasn't terrible, and he had the look of a main eventer. And I thought he was an underdog because, everybody was for, Brock Lesnar. And I was like, Roman Reigns, I don't know why everybody hates him so much. I didn't understand it then. And even to this day, I don't get why that 2014, 2015 solo Roman Reigns was booed so much. It wasn't really that bad of a run to me. And he wasn't a terrible face either. So I never really got that, how he got booed so much back then. Now, 2016, where you had the 1 versus all Royal Rumble, and you got Roman Reigns main eventing every single pay-per-view, and you got Roman Reigns everywhere. Yeah, I can understand that. Believe me, I can understand those years where Roman Reigns is in every single main event, every single show. Every single storyline has to be about Roman Reigns. I remember them, those storylines. I remember them. Trust me, I do. But I'm talking about before it got that bad, But yeah, Roman's a great, and he's got a great storyline going on right now. And I think his character has improved a lot. His promos, his wrestling. He's playing a heel right now. He's playing it perfectly to me. He's doing a great job. But I got back into it, watched it for guys like Seth Rollins, Dolph Ziggler, Ryback. I remember really enjoying. New Day at first I didn't like, and then I got into them as they grew as a team. And I also got into NXT at that time. NXT, which has grown immensely since then. That was back when NXT was still growing. Like, NXT for years was a reality type TV show, which I didn't even know that it was because I wasn't watching wrestling at that time. So coming back in 2015, that was the year of NXT. That year in 2014 and like 2016. Those 3 years were the years of NXT. You know, it was just, there was so much going on that roster. And every pay-per-view they were blowing, you know, out of the water. You know, competition is all, everything they did was just awesome. And it felt cool because it was this thing that was underground and not very big. Didn't have 1 million people arena. You know, and it was where younger talent could become the main champion, become the mid-card champion, become tag team champions, you know, before they went to the main roster. And it was made to make future stars for the main roster. But to me, that's where it kind of fell apart because most of the people that come out of NXT, sadly, don't get a fair shot. And I will say that. That, to me, is still a problem to this day. There are a few occasions like Keith Lee and Asuka and Kevin Owens that do get their just desserts. But most of the time, the guys who come in from NXT don't get that fair shot. Or they don't get the fair opportunities to me that I wish they would. But NXT is supposed to be this area where you're supposed to grow your character. And if they're moving people up, that should mean they're ready. But to me, I think also what it is, they move people up way too early. There's people that got moved up that weren't even there for a year. You know, they were there for maybe 6 months and they got moved to the main roster. It's like, give it time. Let it grow naturally and, you know, then bring them to the main roster. But at that time, NXT was starting to brew up and NXT was this really awesome thing. It was just cool watching it back then. And like I said, it wasn't this huge, giant venue. It was this, you know, group of people who knew about it. You know, you were part of this family of NXT, and every wrestler and character you got behind because it was cool and different and unique. And it brought this indie type style to WWE that I thought was cool and I really liked. But I got out of it in like 2016 because that year to me was just, I thought it was pretty bad because you had a lot of injuries that year, which you can't control injuries. Injuries happen. You know, it's part of wrestling and, you know, it's unfortunate. You know, whenever an injury happens, it's, you know, really sad. And I always hope the best recovery for everybody who gets injured, or I hope everybody's okay. Like, you know, I'm always hoping for the best. When people get injured, I'm hoping they're going to be okay. But we had a lot of injuries, which meant a lot of people got taken out of the main event scene. And then there was also, that was the beginning of when they began to shove Roman down everybody's throats. And even as a Roman Reigns fan, like, I'm a Roman Reigns fan. I think he's a great dude. He's got the look, he's got the wrestling skills, and now he has the mic skills, and now he's with Paul Heyman, he's a heel. Big fan of Roman Reigns right now. But even then, as a fan of Roman Reigns, I was like, he's literally in everything. And you had mid-card talent, which, granted, they're given opportunities, but you had mid-card talent just so suddenly thrusted into main events, thrusted into main storylines, and it was just weird. And there was still, in my opinion at the time, bad booking, people not being put over, people being buried, and, you know, luckily at that time there was a brand split, but I wasn't really a fan of the brand split when it happened either, and I just got out of it. And I came back recently and started watching it again. I will say this, WWE has improved a lot. WWE has some great storylines going on right now. Is it perfect? Is it grade A? I wouldn't say it's grade A, but it's still a fun show, a fun product to watch. And the wrestling is phenomenal right now. Like, everybody's giving it their all. I can really respect that. And there's just great characters. The roster's looking really great right now. There's storylines that I'm interested in. WWE has improved a lot. I think it's it doesn't get its, you know, due credit. It's improved a lot. And watching pro wrestling, some of my favorite things, like I said before, is just the storyline, but I'm also a really big fan of like just that mat wrestling style, that style of about strength, about telling a story with your body, just less about the flips and kicks and more about the wrestling. It's called wrestling. So I love to see guys in there like Kurt Angle and Eddie Guerrero, Triple H, Batista. Yes, I put Batista in there. I thought he was actually a pretty decent little wrestler. I think he's pretty good at wrestling. But yeah, I would say them, Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, of course, RVD. I miss that style of just mat wrestling, strength-based wrestling. I feel like a lot of wrestling nowadays is very fast-paced and very much about springboard. Springboard dives, springboard moonsaults, 450 splashes off the top of the ropes. And it's cool seeing that, but there is a time where I wish different styles would come along, like more grounded styles or more brawl-type wrestling. Which, like I said, that's also improved. We have gotten a lot of styles since then that have come through and have been awesome. So that's always cool. But yeah, I've always been a fan of that kind of wrestling. I'm a huge fan of good storylines. Like if they can pull off a great storyline and build characters, that to me is the perfect mix. You have a good match wrestling-wise with a great story and some great characters and an awesome build-up. Even the wrestling in the match doesn't have to be that great. Like, as long as the story's there and the characters are there and, like, there's motivation for watching this match, that to me is the perfect wrestling match. Like, the one with the emotion behind it, the story being told in that ring without words, with just the spectacle of it. To me, that's the coolest part. The music I've also loved in wrestling. The music, certain theme songs I love. Like earlier I was listening to Mick Foley's theme song and Cactus Jack's theme song because they're very catchy to me, The American Badass Undertaker's theme song, which is a Limp Bizkit song, or the other version of the theme song, which is basically Raw's War's theme song. But Undertaker's music, Kane, his old theme song, I forget what it's by a band. It's called like Slow Chemical. Great song. I really miss Jim Johnston's music. Like, he's a very talented musician. He brought a lot of great, different. Every piece of music sounded different and fit the characters really nicely. So Jim Johnston's a legend, man. I also enjoy the CFOs. Their music's good too. But yeah, music's a big part of it. The spectacle, the stage design. I just always had a passion for pro wrestling ever since I was a kid. I think what it is that it takes you into another world. And most people just focus on the fact that it's fake. It's fake. Yeah, no dip. Movies are fake. Plays are fake. Books, stories are fake. Not all books. There are non-fiction stories, but still, most fiction stories, they're fake. The fiction stories are fake. Whether it's, TV, movies, video games, it's entertainment. It's in the name. Entertainment, sports entertainment. You're taking a sport, athletic, idea and combine it with entertainment. And to me, it's the perfect combination, And those who get it, they get it. That's what makes it so special. And that's what was always cool about pro wrestling, is that the ones that got it really get it. And so when you find a fellow pro wrestling fan, you click. You talk about pro wrestling, you get into it. Who's your favorite wrestler? What was your favorite storyline? What was your least favorite storyline? You can get in a conversation about it. That's the cool thing. But I've always loved it because it takes you into another world. It takes you into the realm of fiction. It really does. It takes you away, to where you ain't really got any worries anymore. And it's great entertainment. It's story. It's got characters. And the wrestling is fantastic. Most of the time, the wrestling's fantastic. So that's why I always love pro wrestling. And some of my pay-per-views that I've always enjoyed, like Hell in a Cell, SummerSlam, pretty much the big ones, Survivor Series. I've always been a big Backlash guy. I don't know, I just always liked Backlash for some reason. Hell in a Cell. Growing up, I was a fan of ECW, but there wasn't a lot of ways to watch ECW. I would mainly watch the ECW on Sci-Fi, which really wasn't ECW. It was like a WWE version of ECW. But I've always liked the idea of Extreme Championship Wrestling. But I was way too young to be watching ECW. So, I couldn't find the ECW, but that's kind of a good thing. I was very, very young. Probably should have been watching ECW, the real ECW. But, yeah, that's pretty much it. I love pro wrestling. I want to kind of do this vlog style ramble type video of me just talking about wrestling, and I don't even know what I'm going to title this video because, why I love pro wrestling or my thoughts on maybe that's what it is, my thoughts on pro wrestling. But, yeah, I love professional wrestling. I love WWE right now. They're doing a great job. It's been a big part of my life. It will continue to be a big part of my life. Just something that I have a lot of passion for. And I'm also wearing my Latino Heat Eddie Guerrero t-shirt. I had this one for a minute now. But, yeah, I wore that for the video. But, yeah. Anyways, guys, what's your guys' thoughts on pro wrestling? Do you like it? Do you not? And also, what's your thoughts on the current product of WWE? Do you like it? Do you not? Definitely let me know in the comments below. But anyways, thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a good day, night, whatever it is where you're at. And hope you enjoyed. Colton and John, thank you so much for the recommendation and request. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good night, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.